Yo, 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 what is up, interwebs? Welcome back, students, to another jam-packed episode and session of the Gaming Academy. I'm your host, your digital professor of play, GQAzndood, and tonight's class is loading in full force. Whether you're lurking from your RGB lit cave or tuning in on the go, class is in session, and the syllabus is looking kind of spicy. Joining me tonight on the Pixelated panel, we got, of course, Nick, aka the Tragically Leaked, the man with the master key to the gaming news vault. And if it dropped, leaked, or got canceled, he's already read the dev blog, decoded the tweet, and cross-referenced the rumor with 3 credible sources. That's my boy. Also, we got BlazingAceNelson returning to handle the tech. We missed out on him last time, but this time he's coming back with charge blades sharper than Sephiroth's sword and the game knowledge to match. So if you're trying to get good, he's your cheat code. Tonight, we'll be running through this week in gaming history with some legendary anniversaries, hit you with our now playing picks, and of course, break down some fresh headlines straight out of the gaming world. Plus a little, what's the deal? I'll give you a little bit of that here in a second, but to make sure your wallet stays leveled up as your loadout. So sit back, grab your snacks, and let's get into it, because tonight, it's time to press start on another night at the Gaming Academy. Let me introduce everybody on the panel here. What's up, guys? Welcome back. I'm just going to throw everybody on there.
That works.
Yeah, what's going on? It's been a week. How's your week been?
My week was kind of action-packed. Spent Easter down in SoCal, visiting the family, running around to old hangouts that I used to go to. Hell, I actually had some time to literally drive around some of my old neighborhoods. It was a nice little throwback session.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I saw you post online about that. How was that going back to the old stomping grounds?
Yeah, were all the old arcades still there, or are they just abandoned ghost towns now?
The second one.
Yeah, that's about right.
Well, no, let me rephrase that. Because there were actually a couple of the old laundromats that were still up and running that had arcade machines there. So I was actually able to stop by the old laundromat where I first played Double Dragon.
Nice. Well, I'm glad you brought that up. Message. Got that. You know what's funny? I think the first time I played Double Dragon was actually at a laundromat also, but it was Double Dragon 2. And I remember it being confusing because there's a punch and kick button, and when you kick the opposite direction.
Oh no, the one I was talking about was the Neo Geo fighting game.
Oh, okay. No, I'm talking about Trade West Taito.
Yeah.
OG Double Dragon.
Nah, first time I played that one was at one of the bowling alleys that's no longer there.
Oh yeah, I'm definitely older than you. Ancient one.
Ancient.
The ancient one. Yeah, it was there's every Sunday we did laundry, this like laundromat like a few blocks away from my dad's apartment in Chicago, and it was cool because this laundromat like rotated out arcades every month, and they'd have 2 all the time, and one would be like a shmup and a fighting game. So one of them was, or a beat 'em up. One of them was Double Dragon, the other one was Twin Cobra. I don't know if they were going for a theme there, but they did it. So yeah. All right, guys. Yeah, Nick, do you have something?
No, it was a pretty low-key weekend for me. Sunday, we actually got some rain up here, as you know, in Beham. So it was a good day to sit inside, and I got caught up on some games. And when we talk about now playing, I'll bring up what I played. But
Sure.
Beyond that, very low-key, just trying to relax. We have our baby shower this weekend, so I'm just getting ready for that.
Fun. Well, that's exciting. Shout out to the Blue Riot Bot and Andre Venom 95 for in chat already.
Yeah, good to see you, fellas.
People early in class, students early in class. Also, I don't know if you guys noticed in the countdown, I have the name of the song already on there. So this way, if you guys are trying to figure out what song it is, it's right on the screen. So this week was Running Around by River City Ransom. Gee, I wonder why that's the chosen one. So we'll see. Anyway, as like I said, due to popular demand, I'm going to boot up this Dreamcast. So we can play some
feels so good in the back of my head.
Yeah, we can play some This Week in Gaming History.
Hey, background.
You know what? I just realized I should use the Back to the Future theme in the game in the game one, and with this image. So yeah, it is new graphics tonight, guys. You'll be seeing new graphics. I've been training our graphic designer, our graphic designer to I was feeding it the content that we produce, and it's learning all the content that we've been sharing with you guys and creating images for us. So it's super interesting because for this one, I just said create an image that tells about the history of gaming, that we're going to go back to the past and talk about games from from the past to the future, and this is what came up with. That's super interesting. All right, well, let's get going because there is a lot to chat about. Let's get on the DeLorean here and go back in time straight to 420, hitting everybody hard with the Fire Emblem Path of Radiance on the GameCube in 2005. Well, why did I choose this one out of this whole list? This one was my first introduction to what a Fire Emblem is, because I did not know what it was. It was around. They even had the anime back in the 90s. Funny enough, the main character was named Mars, not Marth, because it was like the localization was so bad. But yeah, there was a Fire Emblem anime in the 90s that I kind of brushed over because I didn't know it was a video game. So when I got my GameCube, played this, and this was super cool. The storytelling was awesome. And like the turn-based strategy and also the permadeath was super interesting because I've never had a game before that permadeath for a strategy game. So this was super cool. Yeah, and I think the biggest thing was like I was really hooked in the story. Like this game had a Black Knight. You had like a hero that was like kind of a novice at first, and your like dad was like your role. I think he was your dad. I can't remember. Was like your role model. He gets defeated, so you want revenge, and you guy gets good. And man, there's a lot, and it's like from this like small incursion, it turns into like a world at the big out. So I don't know. I know Fire Emblem is kind of a niche thing for a lot of people. What do you guys think about Fire Emblem, specifically this one?
Funny enough, Path of Radiance was actually the first one that I actually sat down and really tried playing. I didn't necessarily click with it, but Ike was the man.
Ike is pretty cool. Pretty cool. So let me ask you this: which one was the first one? Oh, this was the first one. Which one did you click with the most? Or not at all?
Not at all, really. But like the most out of the ones that I tried that I clicked with, even though I didn't really sit down to play it too much, was Path of Radiance.
Okay, all right. So you never played the Nintendo ones or the Game Boy Advance ones? DS?
Nah, I had a couple of friends that played the Game Boy Advance ones, so I pretty much just chilled and checked out the game through them.
Okay. What about you, Nick?
Well, I'm checking out the gameplay right now of this one just because I'd never played the GameCube version. I remember working in the retro store. This was like one of the more expensive GameCube games back in the day.
Yes, for sure.
It's still hard to get a hold of, so it's kind of a collector's item. So I never picked it up. I remember for a while there before the other games started catching up, and this was like Wii era, like Wii 360, PS3 era. Even then, like copies of this got close to $100 by that point. And now it's at least 130, 150 plus.
Yeah.
So I never played this. I didn't get into it until probably the 3DS versions when they came out with those releases, like a Fire Emblem Awakening. So a friend of mine let me borrow their 3DS, and that game was selling out like crazy. One got traded in, so I checked it out and played it, and I liked it. Kind of scratched that itch. I didn't play a lot of tactics games back in the day. I played a lot of RTSs. So that was my first real time playing it was on the 3DS. So not quite the same as this, but this still, I dig the vibe.
Yeah. So the mainline games like this one and the 3DS games, I think minus Echoes, before it got super insane on the Switch, right? They all kind of pretty much played the same. They have a triangle weapon system that rock, paper, scissors, sword beats axe beats spears, stuff like that, right? The permadeath was
No, now that you mentioned that, I did play. They came out with a mobile version. I want to say I remember checking out at PAX one year and got really really into that until a couple updates
Mhm.
later as well. I remember really enjoying that one. Like the artwork was really really cool.
Fire Emblem Heroes is the mobile version.
Heroes,
Yeah,
yeah,
and I
did
think
play that one.
people sunk money in that game, and it's got really good art. And I think that's what really draws a lot of people to Fire Emblem personally is the character design. Speaking of character design, Zawana, Zawana,
Bruzza.
and, uh, and like what the thing that really drew me in is it was the character design. If you look at the Black Knight, super cool looking. Like it looks like one of the knights from Zelda 2, but like in steel black armor and like just giant two-handed sword, right? And this is Ike's nemesis for the whole game. He hunts down the Black Knight specifically to get revenge. Just ends up being the general of the opposite army, right? So you have to gather your own army to get revenge. So it's kind of cool. It's kind of like you're gathering. It kind of reminded me of Naruto Ninja War, right? Where he like went to every town and like recruited people, and by the end of it, they're all fighting this giant war against this other faction. Other faction meaning like one other person, right? So, but yeah, it's Fire Emblem. Check it out. It's like a very niche strategy RPG. If you like Final Fantasy Tactics, it's not going to be like there's a job system per character, but each character is its own class. Archer, they're cavalry, right? Myrmidon, right? Soldier, etc. So super cool. You'll fall in love with at least one character. I guarantee it. There's like so many designs. Like that guy looks really cool. He's like but yeah, it's art's like fantastic. But if permadeath is not your thing, it's too scary for you, the newer games do have a mode that's not permadeath, right? That way you can keep all your characters that you want. I think it helps you play the game a little bit more intensely when you have that permadeath on. So for just my personal opinion. So other games and other news that came out on the 20th, Pitfall in the Atari came out in 1982 for the 2600. Fire Emblem Shadow Dragon and the Blade of Light on Nintendo in 1990 in Japan. That is the one with Marth. So if you guys played Smash Brothers, it's Shadow Dragon is his Fire Emblem. And the Blade of Light, aka the Burning Blade, I think, that was Roy. That's Roy's Fire Emblem. So if you guys are wondering where they came from those games. Power Blade on the Nintendo in 1990 in Japan. If you can get some footage of Power Blade, I would love that because I love that game. Mega Man Legends 2 on the PlayStation in 2000 in Japan. Tachyon, The Fringe on the PC in 2000. I would love to know what game that is also. Siren, nice little horror game on the PS2 in 2004. Ace, I recommended 99 Nights on the 360 for you in 2005 in Japan. Did you get a chance to take a look at that?
Yeah, that was actually one game that I actually had the chance to play because, I saw it at first and I didn't really know what exactly was going on with that, but
Yeah.
I figured, I'd pick it up, try it out, and
Blade, let's go.
apparently, it's like, wait a minute, we got ourselves a nice little medieval fantasy hack and slash. I can work with this.
I didn't know that game was a thing until because it was one of my first games on the 360, and luckily, like one of the last games on the PS2 was a Warriors Orochi, so I was still on the tangent of like beat 'em ups and hack and slash.
Mhm.
So I was like, wow, okay, 360 new system, and then I was like, wow, this is like Dynasty Warriors instant buy. Had to get it. It was super cool, and it's like high fantasy Japanese anime style character designs, right? But the combat was still pretty good, like from what I remember.
Yeah.
So
This game reminds me, like Power Blade, seeing this here,
Yeah.
one of my favorite NES games, just because not because it was great, but because I loved it. It was one of the few we had. Was Shatterhand. It reminds me a lot
Yes.
of like that. I
Yes.
love Shatterhand. I remember just like the dude punching the title and seeing like rip away, and he's got like Terminator knuckles.
Yep.
It was so cool.
Yeah. This one, I remember when I saw this game in the rental store, and I was like, "This looks like Shatterhand with a boomerang."
Yeah,
That's
I
exactly what
did
saw.
love the cover art for this one. This one was
Yeah.
badass.
Yeah, it's super cool. It's. I mean, look, if you look at it, it kind of gives you Mega Man vibes. So,
Yeah,
It's a
we
mixture
have
of
Mega Man at home.
yeah. We got Power Blade in the store. That's
Yeah,
what
it's giving me like Mega Man and Batman.
yeah,
Yeah, a little
no,
bit of
it's a
Batman.
little bit of everything. Yeah, because that
It's his
power meter
Batarang.
setting up too, right? So it's a vibe for sure. Um, so also, I think Okami also came out on the PS2 in 2006 in Japan on this day. You got a lot of games. As the title of this the podcast today is too many games. The King of Fighters collection, the Orochi Saga on the PS2 in 2002 in Japan, actually a super great pickup if you love King of Fighters before 2000, right, Ace? I think.
Mhm.
Right? I think 98 was the last one before they switched to like a different story plot.
Yep.
Monster Hunter Tri on the Wii in 2010. Fire Emblem Echoes, Shadows of Valentia on 3DS in 2017 in Japan, and God of War on the PS4 in 2018, aka Dad of War, if you guys know what I'm referring to. Here's some 99 Nights footage.
Boy,
Just like Dynasty Warriors, right? Very similar. Even like the UI almost is the same for like early Dynasty Warriors. Also in 1976, Data East Corporation is founded. Not only did they release one of the first cart-based arcade game systems, but other notable titles defined our early gaming lives, like Bad Dudes, Karnov, Metal Max, and Fighters History. Now, they did a remake of Metal Max. I didn't know that was an OG. Maybe that's a different one. Metal Max and Nintendo, was that like a mech game or was that a tank game? I can't remember. But Bad Dudes is Bad Dudes. Everybody know what Bad Dudes is. You gotta rescue the president from the ninjas. We're the bad.
are you a bad enough dude?
Yeah. Are you bad enough? Karnov was the big buff bald Russian man that spat fire out of his mouth. Was also a boss in Bad Dudes actually. Metal Max I think was a tank.
Yep, and not just a boss in Bad Dudes, but also a boss in Fighters History.
Correct. So talk about like you know how we talk about Capcom has a roster and encyclopedia of characters. Data East was doing it. They like took other characters from their other games and putting them in their other games. I think more companies need to do that. They just need to fall in love with their IPs and just make it their thing, make it their brand. Like maybe Master Chief showing up in another Microsoft game. That's same universe or whatever, or whatnot. Be creative in that way.
I wanted to throw Tachyon in there just because it was a game that I remember playing back in the day. The reason I wanted to call that one out, besides the cool name, is I just remember the cover art on that had this really cool like sci-fi kind of vibe to it. One of the reasons it was like it stood out, and the reason it's worth calling out like this in the history, was the voice actor in it was Bruce Campbell as the main character. In it, which was hilarious. Yeah, it's like a space combat sim game from back in the day. I mean, this thing came out in 2000, but I remember it had like side quests you could do that would move the main story forward. You can kind of choose how it's going to progress, like pretty early stuff for kind of that era. As well as like strafing and that kind of thing. But yeah, it was, I think the person that wrote it was the same person that did like the F-22 Lightning, the F-22 Raptor games, the games that I played when I was a kid. So it had like a real legit like fight sim kind of, or fighting flight sim behind it, when it came out, but it was in space. So it was kind of cool.
Yeah, PC games back then were always like, were always such a vibe. They were so different than the console games. If anything, they were much more advanced. But I feel like they were so advanced in a way that the average consumer was like, this is kind of too much, like maybe too complicated because you had a whole keyboard and mouse to like, or the whole keyboard to like control your character in the game. In this case, this was PC, right? So in 2000, so you should have this keyboard.
And again, having Bruce Campbell as the main character's voice,
the
King of B movies.
Sure. Now, was he featured on the box, like starring with the voice of Bruce Campbell, or not?
No, not that I remember.
Okay. Yeah, that would be
before they put like those kind of names on the front of it.
Yeah. See, this kind of reminds me of Free Space, Descent Free Space.
A little bit, yeah.
But it looks better than Descent Free Space, actually. Super cool. All right, moving on to the next one here on 4/21. 21. All right, the Game Boy handheld released in 1989 in Japan, including Super Mario Land. Arguably the first most successful handheld video game console of all time. which then led to what we're about to buy in a few weeks, which is the Switch 2. So think about that for a second. Monochrome, 2 buttons, 4 AA batteries,
The classic pea soup green screen.
pea soup green. There's actually a really cool clip from the Tetris movie that talks about the Game Boy. I don't know if you saw that, but that'd be a fun clip to play if we can find it. But yeah, there's a really cool clip that I saw, the Tetris movie. It was on Apple TV, so it might be really obscure to find. But yeah, the guy that's like the master of Tetris, these like guys in lab coats are like introducing the new Tetris game that's like mobile, and they were like, it's got like 48 hertz of power, 4 AA batteries. They were like all serious about it, and they show a Game Boy without the Nintendo label. Super cool. But they were just vibing with it. And it's like, you can play Tetris on this on the go. Now we didn't want to do we didn't want you to put 8 batteries in there, so we had to make it monocolor. So that was like their excuse, which is kind of funny. So, is that NBA Jam? It's NBA Jam Tournament Edition, sir. That's right, Scorpio. All right, but yeah, Game Boy stories, guys. I wasn't allowed to have this because I already had a Nintendo, and it was like a 1 console house. This counted as a console, right? So my mom was like, "If you want a Game Boy, you got to get rid of all your Nintendo stuff so you can buy Game Boy stuff." And I was like, "What? That?" I'm keeping my colored console versus a small screen monochrome one. What about you guys?
For me, my first run in with the Game Boy was, one of my friends that actually brought it to school, and of course, during free time when we finished up all our classwork, he was the one that everybody always crowded around until everyone else started getting their Game Boys. But he brings stuff like Super Mario Land 2. Let's see, it was that, Battletoads, and Pit Fighter were the 3 that I can remember him bringing the most.
Bro, Pit Fighter on a Game Boy? That's already rough, not on a Game Boy. I can only imagine what it is on a Game Boy.
But yeah, eventually I got one of my own, started, borrowing some of my late uncle's games, and, oh, man.
Did you ever own one yourself?
Mhm.
Okay, nice.
But yeah, the numerous nights and weekends that I sacrificed to Metroid 2 and Ninja Gaiden Shadow.
Those, I feel like every Ninja Gaiden game is hard, so automatically I'm like, that game sounds hard.
But also, oddly enough, there was a pretty solid selection of fighting games on the Game Boy.
Yeah, I played Killer Instinct on the Game Boy and Mortal Kombat. So
yeah, I had
Mortal Kombat 1 and 2, Primal Rage. Let's see. And also, as part of my own personal collection, I had Battle Arena Toshinden and KOF 95.
On the Game Boy? Like Game Boy?
Mm-hmm.
Wow. I didn't even know those were out for the Game Boy.
I got Super Mario Land playing, but now I need to see if I can find that King of Fighters.
Yeah, let's see here. Yeah, so like I just remember seeing this, and I think that the idea that I had, like, you can get a mobile game or a game Nintendo like game console on the go was just a wild idea. Because think about it, guys. I don't know if you got how old you guys are in chat, but in the early '90s, the only handheld video games you had was those Tiger Electronics, right? And they weren't video games; they were just like. They were pre-made screens that you press and they would like move across like pre-rendered areas, right? It's hard to describe. It's like you're just controlling images, and there was like one noise. It was beep. And that was it.
Yeah. I have 2 very clearly defined memories in my head with the Game Boy. We did have 2 because my brother and I would fight over it. So eventually my parents gave in and we did get a second one. We owned Donkey Kong Land 1 and 2, and I played a lot of that. I remember going on car trips with the family, and we had those, and we played them constantly. The first memory that comes up is we forgot where we put one of our Game Boys on one of the car trips, and it ended up underneath my dad's seat. So we were in a Lincoln that, kind of like low slung bucket seats. Yeah. He took the seat, went back and crushed the screen on one because it fell underneath. They were so friggin' pissed. Like, looking back on it, like, I understand now, but man, it felt so bad because it like broke, and then we found it, my brother and I, and I'm just looking at him like, we can't tell dad. We can't tell dad. Like, oh no. The other memory I had was actually Mario Land and Mario Land 2. I used to house sit and like dog sit for friends when I was in like middle school, high school. So my parents would drive me over. Then eventually, when I got my own car, I drove over there and like watched their dog over a week or two while they're off, going somewhere to vacation. And I hadn't had a Game Boy in a long time, and they had a Game Boy with Mario Land 1 and Mario Land 2. So I went to go dog sit. I just go over there and just kind of hang out there for a couple hours and just play their Game Boy. I just remember that very clearly, kind of hanging out in their super nice house. They had a fair amount of money. We didn't. So I just like hung out in their house and played Game Boy while I was like dog sitting for them. It was really easy, but
That's a good
it
deal.
was just kind of it was a really good deal.
That's a good deal. I feel like it's probably harder to bribe kids now with that, but like I feel like back in the day, if your house had a video game system and you needed the kids to just watch the place, that's all you would have to offer them. They'd do it. So, because I would have done it, I would be like, yeah, I'd watch your house and just hang out and play Game Boy all day. Like, you're like, where your kids were because they just wanted to play video games.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So
it's like those old ads like, hey, it's 10 p.m. Do you know where your kids are? It's like, yeah, they're at a friend's house right now playing Game Boy.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Hopefully watching the kids. Hopefully.
No.
All right. Some other games that came out on the 21st here. Duck Hunt also came out on a Nintendo in 1984 in Japan. Super Mario Land, of course, came out. Knuckles Chaotix on the 32X in 1995 in Japan. Cory in the House, what's up? DS on the DS in 2008. Phantasy Star 3, Generations of Doom on the Genesis in 2008. A great RPG, by the way. Dynasty Warriors Gundam 2 on the PS2, PS3, 360 2009. NieR Replicant on the PS3 in 2011. Haunting Ground, a super expensive PS2 game in 2015 in Japan. Pocky and Rocky Reshrined, which is a remaster sequel technically to the Super Nintendo version, I think, on the Switch and PS4 in 2022 in Japan. Advance Wars 1 and 2 Reboot Camp on the Switch in 2023. Dead Island 2 on everything came out on it was PS4, Xbox, all the above in 2023. Final Fantasy Pixel Remaster. We're talking about remasters now. Final FF 35th Anniversary Edition on the Switch in 2023, and my own game for the A to Z Gaming Challenge, a Euden Chronicle 100 Heroes on the PS4, PS5, and Xbox One in 2024. I think I have that right here somewhere. Nope. I put it away. I'm stupid. Never mind. Okay. So let's talk about what's on the screen here. So we love Muso. Well, so why not combine Muso and Gundam for some reason? So Ace,
why not?
Why not?
Also, but I want to hear yours first.
Well, this was back around the time. This was back around the time where I was again doing a lot of importing on the PS2. So when games like this and like Samurai Warriors 2 and Samurai Warriors 2, Dynasty Warriors 5, when those games were coming out, I was able to scrape enough money together and either double dip or I had a friend that would import them. But when I saw that they were that there was a Dynasty Warriors Gundam game or a Dynasty Warriors Gundam series of games, I had it was a foregone conclusion that I would come into possession of these things at some point. But Gundam 2 really took everything from the first game, fine-tuned a lot of the quality of life issues that I had with the original, expanded the roster, and it made unlocking the different mobile suits in the game, it made it pretty interesting because you literally, not only did you have to find the parts for each of the mobile suits, but then you also had to build up your rapport with the pilots in order to get the license to pilot these things.
So another layer of gaming was involved in there as well. Not just you can pick any Gundam, and just pilot through the whole game. So
right.
And I do remember this game. I platinumed this game, by the way. Did you platinum it?
Not on the PS2.
No, PS3. This is PS3.
Dynasty Warriors Gundam 2 was on the PS2.
You sure?
I mean, it came out pretty much around the tail end, so it was cross generation, I'd imagine.
Okay. Well, I platinumed on the PS3.
Nice.
And this one of the trophies was to get max relationship on each pilot.
Oh my god.
And it was a nightmare. It was like, because you just had to like grind, right? And there was no shortcut to it. You literally just had to grind each character. So it was one of the hardest trophies. Not like it was difficult to get, but it was definitely a grind fest. And it was like, man, why? Why do you do this game? You know?
Yeah, there's definitely a few platinum trophies like that.
Yeah.
This was this series especially, it was a weird like point in my own gaming history because I had just shortly before this, because this game was, what did you say, it was 2008, 2009, right? Yeah, 2009. Right around the time the first Dynasty Warriors Gundam came out, I was really deep into Dynasty Warriors and Muso games at that point. So I was really happy to see this because at the same time, I got super into Gundam Seed when that series came out in 2005. That was one of the first Gundam series that I sat down and watched with friends. That was kind of like one of my very early kind of like anime days when I was just starting to like broaden what I was into, and a buddy of mine had Seed on DVD, and it's like, hey, let's sit down and kind of like watch this. It's 50 episodes. We'll watch it over a few weekends. He was my roommate, and one of his friends was visiting from out of state, and we spent the entire weekend just like marathoning Seed. So I got really into that, and then started going back and playing or watching older ones. So then I watched Wing, and then as time went on, kept up with the other ones. So this game came out too. And I got really into it because of that reason, because it had recognizable characters from a variety of different things.
Mm-hmm.
That's always the cool thing for me, is when I can see like across different versions, like Gundam versions are represented in there, and they interact, and they have like very specific interactions with each other too. Like I thought that was so cool with the Dynasty Warriors like system underneath it. So I loved it, but it was like, yeah, like I said, like a really weird point where just all these interests kind of connected at once when it came out. So I can fully recognize it's pretty mindless and like button mashy, like even compared to some of the other Dynasty Warriors games. I remember these being very just kind of mindless after a few hours, like to the worst side of it. But I loved them for that reason. I just love the characters. And the third game came out, and they kind of like revamped the combat a little bit, and each Gundam felt a little different, and a little more fun to play. That's when I really enjoyed it, especially because I had more G Gundam characters.
Yes.
3 was really good, and hopefully they make a 4 someday, and I wish they would.
They've got Mecha Break now. They're not going to bring out Dynasty Warriors Gundam 4.
Yeah, but but we're talking about Dynasty Wars specifically. This is legit more Dynasty.
And then of course, considering that there have been the new series that have come out, like Witch from Mercury and QX. I mean, this would be a perfect time for a new Dynasty Warriors Gundam.
I would see it as a mobile game.
However, recently, I've been getting my Gundam / Muso fix with Gundam Breaker.
I mean, I think that's the license is now gone from Koei Tecmo anyway. Like they would have to reacquire it in some way. But yeah, right now the Gundam game that is out that everybody loves is Gundam Breaker. They just released one last year, Gundam Breaker 4, right? So, and then the one that's most popular in Japan is Gundam Versus. It's like the 2v2 Gundam game.
Yeah.
That's really popular. I'll play it on stream sometime. It's really fun. It's an arena battler like the Naruto games, right? So kind of like that. But yeah, what you're seeing on the screen here is Eden Chronicles, technically the successor to Suikoden, right? And this is the real one. The one I played on stream wasn't 100 Heroes. It was like something else. It was the prequel to this game. They legit made a prequel to this game, and it was totally different. It wasn't even a strategy game. It was like a 2D like platforming adventure game, but in the same universe. It sets up this game to be released, which is kind of interesting. Right? I feel like it's kind of part of me is like, it's a waste of money, but at the same time, it's cute that they did that they bought the so much that they split up like the prequel to make it totally different than the actual game that they're going. Kind of cute in a way. Super cool. Let's see here. Yeah, for me, like I this when I got this game, I haven't even played it yet, but when I got this game, I was under the impression that Suikoden was not going to be remastered and re-released on modern consoles. That's why I was like so excited to pick this up. But then they, of course, the day I bought it, they announced the Suikoden 1 and 2 remaster, and I was like, hell, man. So I got to get both of them. But yeah, if you look at it, it's got Suikoden DNA to it, right? The 2D pixel art. Even the combat will be very similar, as you can see here in a second. The hook of the game, aka the gimmick, is exactly what it says: 100 heroes, guys. You can collect them all, right? And I don't know if there's like any like. I'm assuming there's a different ending if you collect X heroes, right? So that's the other fun part about this series, the Suikoden series, and this series. Regardless of how many you recruit, it will dictate the ending. So there's more replay value to it. Really, you're like bringing it back to the kind of like the PlayStation 1 era. That's why I liked it. All right.
Back to the era where unlocking characters involved you playing the game, not busting out your credit card.
You know, here's the thing, right? I think the first time where I started I guess questioning DLC was Need for Speed Most Wanted, like the remake of it. Not the 360 version, but the one where you get to be the cop. I don't know if you guys remember that one, right? It's like the second iteration of Most Wanted. And there was a microtransaction in the store that said unlock all cars for like $30, right? But the game, you can unlock all the cars. You just have to play the game. So I was like, kind of like, is this good or bad? Like I was kind of, this is the first time I ever questioned it, right? Is this a good thing or is this a bad thing? And Chad, I would love to hear your opinion on this. Is it good or bad? Because I'm thinking here, I'm like, I'm playing this game. I bought it for like $40, right? I have an option to pay another 40 to get all the cars. And I feel like if I was a Need for Speed fan, but I had like a kid, full-time job, maybe I went to school, I don't have time to unlock everything to play my favorite car, right? So, but also $30, right? So I was like, I guess that's good for that guy, right? But also at the same time, you're just paying more money for less game, right? So that's the kind of like juxtapose that you're trapped, the conundrum I would say that you're in between. You're honestly, like, to be real, you're paying for less game because you're getting a head start on unlocking those cars. But are you really getting less game because you're still playing through the game? You just have access to the cars sooner. They're still in the game, right? So I was really torn on this, and I would love to hear your thoughts specifically on this one, because I know there's a lot of them out there, and maybe there's a better example you guys can think of whether the first time you're like, is this a microtransaction bad? Because I feel like this was the first time it really set the precedence that I was like, ooh, I don't know about this. If they keep doing this, then they may just start charging us if people are buying it, right?
Man, this is very much like old man shouts at cloud energy right now. Because I know it's the most famous one, but it's the first time that I had that feeling, and that was the horse armor in Oblivion.
Oblivion, okay.
Because that was the first time where I was just like, it's $250 for just this horse armor. It doesn't add anything. This could be a dangerous, precedence. And like we discussed, if it was not last week, the podcast before, about how DLC makes up 58% of all PC money right now. So it's just like that was the slippery slope. There was other things like back in the day, like maybe not like DLC, but like, remember Metal Gear VR missions? You had to buy that separate disc, and you had to swap between the discs on your console. That thing was useless otherwise. Grand Theft Auto London, I remember, was another one that was like that. There was games, as far back as like 2003 even. I remember having like paid DLC map packs for like RTSs and stuff. So yeah, I don't know. For me, it was really just the horse armor that was
Horse
like,
armor?
this felt completely useless. Yeah.
What about you, Ace?
Yeah, for me, I think like the most egregious offenders that I had been that I had dealt with, face to face were firstly Street Fighter Cross Tekken.
Yeah, that was pretty bad. I remember that one.
Like, up to that point, I mean, I still had my misgivings because it's like, while I get paying for the convenience, paying to unlock stuff that may already be in the game, for me, it defeated the purpose of playing the game. Because I mean, like, at least a third, if not half, the experience of playing through most games is, putting in the time to actually unlock more of the content that's available in it. But after Street Fighter Cross Tekken, with the whole on disc DLC thing, that just really, really started rubbing me the wrong way. And then Asura's Wrath.
I think Asura's Wrath is probably more notorious than Street Fighter Cross Tekken, in my opinion. They're both bad, but don't get me wrong, they're both awful. But the Street Fighter Cross Tekken one was the characters were on the disc; they were just locked, right? So therefore, they were already there. So, but there was no way to unlock them except buying them. That was the terrible part about that, right?
Mhm.
So what they and I don't know why whoever thought about that at Capcom HQ was like, we'll just keep the downloadable on the disc. Like, what were they thinking in their brain when they thought about that, right? But I think this was also the era where they were getting arrogant. Thought it was the future, and they thought this is how they're going to make this, right? And then we all know the gem thing was because a ridiculous idea, right? Now, as far as Asura's Wrath, bro, you want the real ending? You got to pay. That's literally what it is.
Yeah.
I've never heard of that before. Like, I get it. Like, play the game again, maybe get perfects on everything and get the real ending. But to get the real ending, you have to pay. That is crazy, dog. It wasn't even like I guess they disguised it as like another stage, right? But we all know it was literally the real ending, and you had to buy it to get the real ending. So it's crazy how they pieced that together. I think that was the most awful part. And guess what? They're both Capcom. Oh, surprise.
I think Stick Figured in the comments had a good comment there about like their kid wanting certain cars and stuff in GTA. Like, that certainly makes sense. There's always going to be content that some people it's just worth it for them to pick up for whatever. I think the idea was like, what is egregious and doesn't serve a purpose, or like was like a really knee jerk, like, this is completely worthless. It's not just like some cosmetic or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And here's the thing too, like, we're kind of going back to what you're saying. I remember Pirate Software was talking about StarCraft 2, right? And how it had its budget, right? I love that game, by the way. Love StarCraft 2. And they were saying how like the StarCraft 2 made less money than like some like rainbow pony skin on World of Warcraft.
Yeah.
And
I remember that.
That should have told right there that like that's it. We're doomed and it's our fault. Like, literally, it's our fault.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest, man. There's some stuff, like, as much as I lament certain additions of like cosmetic stuff or microtransaction stuff in some of the games, I will legit say, like, when I was playing WoW Classic, when they started coming out with some of those cosmetics, even I was like, oh, I kind of really always wanted that spectral tiger that you could only get from the TCG, but now I can just buy it for like $10. It's like, oh, I'll buy that. That's really cool. Like, that was something for me that was just like, this is just a stupid cosmetic, but this is something I always kind of wanted. I love the look of it, and I play this game a lot. Like, yeah, there's going to be value in that for me.
Yeah.
I get that. And the same with StarCraft 2. Like, that one didn't sell well back in the day because it was such a departure, everything going on in the industry at the time. Like, we talked about that before. It didn't have a great release time, from what I remember, like the whole situation around it. But we loved it. It was such a good game.
Yeah, and that's the thing what Stick Figure was saying, is that like you're not paying for the convenience, right? And that's exactly, like, I think in your case, like you said that you were only able to get it on the TCG. Well, instead of buying the TCG and hoping you unlock it, right, you buy it for $10 and having to conveniently get that, right, instead of just focusing on the TCG. So there's part of it that is convenience for sure.
It was so hard to get it in the TCG though. Like, it was complete. It was minuscule percentage.
yeah.
You had to get the card. It had to be a scratch off code to get it. Like it's the same thing like pulling shinies in Pokemon card
Yeah.
decks. Like has been the crazy thing lately.
But it was still attainable in another way. So it's kind of what Ace is saying.
Yeah,
We'll make it attainable in some other way. It's just you're just literally paying for less game points. And it's not your fault for that case. They designed it that way so you can pay for it, right? So it's practices. DLC practices are vary from company to company. It's not like a blanket statement, right? So I think that's we can like kind of end on that note for that. We'll be here all night.
Jago's good call out. I absolutely got Shade as well, and that was worth it.
Oh,
Having
yeah,
a whole
Shale?
new character and
Yeah.
like his entire story, and then your relationship with that, like that was a good value, and that's another example of just like DLC kind of done right. Anyway, not to distract it. We got plenty to talk about tonight.
Sour me Bioware more than Gen Empire, bro. Let's not. It always comes back to Gen Empire. All right? This comes back to Gen Empire. Anyway, on the 22nd, speaking of Double Dragon, April 22 in 1987, Double Dragon on the arcade came out in 1987 in Japan. But if you look at this arcade cabinet, guys, the two bad boys up there, two bad dudes up there, look pretty American to me.
Bimmy and Jimmy.
Spike and Hammer. That's their name. The US version. So
Bimmy and Jimmy, baby.
Yep. Keep in mind, like this came out in 87, where like Mad Max, like metal was like, like hair metal was a thing. And so that was the hotness, right? Kids love this stuff. So that's why they designed Double Dragon this way. More so the Mad Max, because if you look at like the vest and the headbands, it's definitely like very 80s, like martial arts. Karate Kid is probably to blame for this too, right? Big thing. And I highlighted this one because this is probably the progenitor of beat 'em ups. Like this is the first thing you think of beat 'em up, Double Dragon. I know I did when I was a kid. Like, let's play a game where we just beat up a bunch of guys. All right, let's play Double Dragon because it's 2 players, right? Player 1, player 2. Red and blue is always the most memorable 2 colors for player 1, player 2. Contra followed that. Life Force followed that. So I don't know. Well, I want to hear Chad and you guys experience Double Dragon. This was in the arcade, and man, I spent a lot of money on this. Yeah, and Hokuto no Ken for sure.
Oh, the one that I spent the most money on, largely because my local arcade, arcades within walking distance of my house at the time, didn't have Double Dragon. It was usually the ones that were like further out. So I'd go to the arcades across the street, and it'd be the Combat Tribes.
Yep, the Warriors, pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oh, Bobo. That's exactly who that is. That's great. Yeah, Combat Tribes probably stemmed from Double Dragon as well. It was like 3 players.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, seriously, this reminded me of. Oh God, I was playing River City Ransom Underground.
Mm-hmm. That's
I was just messing around in the little classroom section, and then I messed around too long. And as soon as Principal Bobo bust through the wall like the Kool-Aid Man, I was like, "Time to go!" And
you left class.
Evacuated the school.
Yeah, that was. It's cool that like here's another thing that Technos Japan. I think Technos Japan eventually got absorbed into Arc System Works. They pretty much combined the Double Dragon series with their River City series and what do you call this? Neketsu, whatever, right? Kunio-kun and what was the other guy's name? Mm-hmm. But yeah, it's like they're another company that loves their characters in their games, so they put other characters in their games because they just know better. They're known for that. Matter of fact, you were talking about how River City Girls was free, right? They paid a homage to Double Dragon.
Yeah.
Right? So that's just what it is. Like this is when you think of beat 'em up, you think of Double Dragon from the start. I don't know what it is now, but from the start.
Man, it wasn't my first beat 'em up. We didn't have this game. I remember seeing it in the arcade, and then like obviously when Angry Video Game Nerd did his video on it, a bunch of people like revisited this series and started bringing up memories about it, and it was everywhere. And we have the movie as well, right? Yeah. I had Renegade instead.
Yes.
at home. So that was my beat 'em up that I had when I was a kid. So we had Double Dragon at home. I had Renegade. That's just what I
Well,
had.
honestly, Renegade is part of the universe of this game.
Yeah.
It's like I think in Japan, you're playing as Kunio instead of like Alex. So it's like they just reskinned it for the West. And you're right, that game was super fun, and it was a single player version of this. And I really enjoyed it as well. It was super hard from what I remember. The first subway
Renegade?
level, yeah, Renegade.
I remember being a 2-player co-op.
Mm,
Unless I'm just like
for the
with
Nintendo. I'm thinking for the Nintendo. So I don't know if it is for co-op or any other system. So I mean, you can pull up the gameplay if you like. But I'll name off some other games here that you're doing. Other games that came out on the 22nd, NieR Kung Fu on a Nintendo in 1985 in Japan. And we talked about this, and I said this was arguably the first fighting game ever made on a home console, right? Not Karateka, but NieR Kung Fu came out before that. Crimson Tears on the PS2 on 2004 in Japan. I think last time we talked about Crimson Seas. So now it's Crimson Tears. Pokemon Diamond, Pearl, Platinum version on the DS in 2007. The World Ends With You on the DS in 2008. NieR came out on the 360 in 2010 in Japan. Soul Calibur Lost Swords on the PS3 in 2014. I don't even remember that game. Is that the one with the move? So, and Star Fox Zero on the Wii U in 2016. Mortal Kombat 11 on the Switch in 2019. Megaton Musashi W Wired. I know that Ace was playing that on his channel on the PS5 in 2024. And on 2013, Nordic Games goes into the bin and acquires multiple IPs from the bankrupt sale at THQ. I remember this story, actually. They picked up Darksiders, Red Faction, Titan Quest, Supreme Commander, Frontline, Stuntman, Juiced, Full Spectrum Warrior, and Destroy All Humans. And that's why they're all coming out now again at Nordic Games instead of THQ. Ironically, Full Spectrum Warrior is a really fun strategy game. And if you look at it, you wouldn't think it was a strategy. But anyway, NieR Kung Fu, here it is, guys. Look at the fighting game. This is it.
Look at those pink pants, man. He's got those hammer pants.
And he's doing the hammer dance. Look at that.
Oh.
Yeah, this is great. I think I saw this at the arcade once, and I was like so frustrated with the controls, right? He's got to jump like Arthur in Super Ghouls and Ghosts, where if you pick a direction, you're gonna go in that direction, right? So, but yeah, here it is. Like you hit him in. You notice how there's no combos because Street Fighter 2 technically was the first fighting game to accidentally add combos in their game due to canceling, due to a bug, which is hilarious in my opinion.
Man, that's when a bug turns into
Fight
a feature.
These big boys.
That's like Majin Buu is a human being right there.
His name is Tao.
Oh, he spits fire, bro. Look at that.
I was about to say he's like the granddaddy of Karnov.
Yeah, he's like, I spit hot fire. Named Tao. Oh, right in the face. It looks easy. This guy's making it easy, but it's actually really hard. That's all I can say. Yeah, and this was made by like Konami or something, like super random. And it's like you think a Konami would make the first best fighting game, but no, Karateka was like after this, and Karateka was like I think Atari. If not Atari, I think it was Data East, which is funny. At least the Nintendo version was Data East. So that's super fun. Do you guys have any? Let's see. I think you had something on Crimson Tears, Ace. What you got?
Yeah, Crimson Tears. Now, I saw like literally this was another one where I saw it in the, I like saw the case in a GameStop, and I was like, Crimson Tears. What's this all about? Yeah. Saw the characters on the front, thought it looked interesting. Literally just picked it up, read the case, read the instruction manual, and I was like, I should get this.
This is a Capcom game on the PS.
Right. I pick it up, and first, like one of the big things that really grabbed me, aside from
the sweet polygons.
Yeah,
the characters.
But, like one of the things that really grabbed me, aside from the visuals, was just it was really the gameplay, like the fact that each of the zones that you went to was actually, randomly, it was randomly generated.
Diego said, "Lord have mercy."
Yeah. Tokyo representing.
Bro, this art reminds me of the Capcom era of Mega Man 7. The
Mhm.
weird
Yeah,
3D cell shading.
X7 and Tatsunoko versus Capcom around there.
Yeah, that was like their art style at the time.
Can we talk about Katie's like one cheek out like style there? Like what is that thigh? Is that for movement? Or just
Speed,
tear?
buddy.
It would just tear
Speed.
from how awesome she is? Like that's a style choice.
The asymmetry. Yeah,
No regrets.
no regrets.
Yeah, Ace, I can see why you get this.
This gives me bouncer vibes. Is that accurate?
Not quite.
No. Okay.
Oh,
This is
largely
definitely a
because
vibe.
again, like sure, it's a it's an action game. It's a beat 'em up, but like I was saying, the stages are procedurally generated.
Yeah, which is like unique at the time. By the way.
As you leveled up your characters, you actually unlocked more of their
Fixer.
combo strings with one of the usually like 3 different weapons that they specialize in. I mean, you could go in there unarmed. You can go in with dual wielding short swords, like with a broadsword. Actually, funny enough, Katie is supposed to be like the muscle out of the 3 of them. So she's the only one that can actually wield.
She straight up just ripped through her pants because she's just got like all that like muscle going on. I get it. Okay. I was just at first I had to figure out like was that stylistically what happened or is there a lore reason? I had to make sure I get the lore for Crimson Tears before you go too deep.
Very important. Very important. They look like American gladiators from the future. That's what they look like.
I mean, it basically is for what it sounds like.
That's true. You run through a gauntlet, right?
Oh, and speaking of, companies that fall in love with their characters, once you get to the post game, you unlock basically, Bloody Palace mode or like an infinite dungeon.
Yeah,
Bloody Palace mode.
Which actually gives you the chance to unlock character skins from Street Fighter. I believe, let's see, Katie gets Cammy. I think
Chun-Li.
I think Asuka or Amber, I think she gets Chun-Li. And Tetsu winds up getting Guile.
Guile? Nice.
And when you equip the character skins, it also changes the music too.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, this is like a hidden gem for sure. Capcom buried this pretty deep.
Buried
it. They pretty much buried it right next to Onimusha Dawn of Dreams.
Bro, don't talk about that. Too soon. Too soon. Tell us real quick about this. I knew you were playing this on your stream, but Megaten Musashi.
Oh my God, Megaten Musashi. Now, Wired is actually a re-release of. Well, it's actually a re-release of Megaten Musashi Cross, which was like the Japanese release of the game. But Wired adds all of the DLC from the original release, adds like all these different new suits. Think Gundam Breaker, but focusing more on like more classic anime style mechs.
Oh, okay, like M Geyser or whatever it is. Like
Gigantor, Mazin Kaiser.
Yeah, Mazin Kaiser.
Actually, Mazin Kaiser is one of the guest mechs that's in the game.
Of course, yeah, that makes sense. It's the big
that makes sense.
But I mean, actually, here's the best way to put it: it's Gundam Breaker meets Mazin Kaiser meets Pacific Rim.
Okay. Are there kaiju in this game?
Yes.
Okay, that sounds pretty cool. Yamato Ichidachi.
But yeah, I mean, it's like when you're not running around the fields, doing your thing, when you're not actually going through the action stages and fighting, or in the hangar actually, putting your suits together, it's standard, high school anime fare.
High school anime fare.
You got your main character who's pretty much like a maniac in a street fight. And you start figuring out what's going on with this, what's going on with this post-apocalyptic setting. And, eventually Yamato gets recruited, and, his maniac and his street fight tendencies actually are like, basically that's part of like his talent as far as, when it comes to piloting the different rogues or the different suits. Like
Diego's caught on. Yes, a very protagonist name. Mr. Protagonist himself.
Mhm.
Protagonist son.
Protag Chan.
And I'm sorry, but for all the mecha fans out there, this mid-air combination sequence is just so damn cool. Like this was the clip when I first heard of Megata Musashi. This right here was the clip that had me go, okay, I would like to know more.
Is there a Megazord in this game?
I mean, you basically just saw their answer for it.
Pretty much.
Well,
With the power of friendship, we could link up.
It's a culmination of like mechs, right? OG mechs. I was wondering if the Megazord.
No, there isn't like a straight up Megazord in the game though.
As a guest one. Yeah, that looks like Magic Geyser pretty much. Yeah, that's super cool. But the combat says like Gundam Breaker, you said?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, check it out, guys. I think it's super cool if you're into that. Yeah, look at that. Cool. Does it have 2 players or co-op or anything?
I think no, there's actually a PvP mode.
Okay, but there's no like co-op or anything.
Yeah, no co-op in the story as far as I can remember. I mean,
I don't know. Mecha Break is going to be hard to beat because it's free.
Yeah.
All right, guys. So I was looking at this game the other day for 423, Alicia Dragoon on the Jets 2. Now, I want to ask our resident Sega owner, have you ever played this game before?
No.
Okay.
I don't even recognize that cover.
Yeah. So you know what? I played this very briefly at a friend's house, but it wasn't the odd part. It wasn't his Genesis. It was his dad's Genesis. And I just remember playing this because I tend to play the games I just don't have home. And Alicia Dragoon, if you can find some gameplay for it, it's like
my guy.
It's like Magic Sword from Capcom, right? So check this out. Tell me you don't get Magic Sword vibes from this.
Jagos, that unlocked like a core memory for me just seeing Nick Arcade. Like I so wanted to be on that show, and I recognize like what you're talking about now. It definitely was one of the challenges.
Yeah. Now this game is straight up fun. I mean, you could also argue that this game was like on was that Nine Eyes on the Nintendo, where you play as I think Sherazade as the main character, and you play as the second player plays the crow. Right? Because in this one you're playing the dragon as the second player. Super interesting game. Like I just wanted to bring it up because it's like I feel like not a lot of people know this game. It's a player in our team here. But like yeah, it's like playing Magic Sword on the Super Nintendo. So.
Hey man, that's half the reason we bring up these kind of games in the gaming history thing. It's just like games you may not have heard of, games from our past, maybe something in chat as well pops up like it always does. We love hearing those stories from them.
For sure. And I would love to hear like if somebody like, pull up a game that nobody, oh my God, I had that. And like, oh, tell me more, I would love to know more.
Or I never saw that cover art or that trailer, or yeah, it always happens, which is great.
Like seriously, this is giving me like Magic Sword, and oddly enough, I look at this game and it just brings back memories of playing Hook on the Super NES.
Yeah, Hook sounds about right. It's probably the arrows and like the meter, because Hook had the same like meters and stuff like that from what I remember the UI. But yeah, I mean that's like the only thing I don't know too much about it, but like it's immediately I thought of Magic Sword because I never played. So I was like, oh, it's like Magic Sword. It kind of carried on from. And I forgot about it for like all these years, like 40 years later. All right, other games that came out on the 23rd, Disney's DuckTales 2 on NES in 1993 in Japan. If somebody could find how much a complete copy of that is, I'd be impressed how much that costs. So I know that's one of the most rare games on NES. Ready for this one, folks? Kunio-kun no Neketsu Soccer League, aka known as World Cup Soccer in America.
Yes.
For the NES in 1993 in Japan.
Loose price right now sitting at about $270.
Loose price, my guy.
Loose
My
price.
gosh.
Yep, just the cart. Complete price right now is hovering around $740.
Yeah. When cardboard and like costs more than the game, that says a lot. About value. That's crazy.
That better be some pristine ass cardboard.
Yeah, right. Oh man, I love this.
Oh,
let's go.
Now I got to see if I can pull. I got to double check to see if that's on the Nintendo Switch Online because now I want to play that.
I feel like it is. I feel like it's on the Nintendo, like free Nintendo games that you get. This game was great. Man, anytime you add Niketsu and like a sports game, I love it. Like it's got character and it's got like personality. Just
yes.
that guy. I'm pretty sure that's a pencil. Oh, you're right. That guy's dead.
You see the look on. Oh, everybody getting struck by lightning.
And there's wind. Oh man, this is pretty detailed. All right, let me go through this here. The Red Star on the PS2 2007. I hope you guys know what that one is because that one's special. Don't Starve on Linux, Mac, and PC on 2013. Bravely Second End Layer on 3DS 15 in Japan. Chivalry 2 on the PS5 in 2021. Tales of Kenzera Zao on a Switch, PC, PS5. 2024.
Just fucking busted the net.
Look at that. Man, look at that wind pose. Let's go. In 2005, the first YouTube video was uploaded to the site titled Me at the Zoo. 20 years later, he's still at the zoo. Just kidding. Just think about the time YouTube has completely changed how we get our gaming info. Community. Rest in peace, GameTrailers. That's true. I do remember going to GameTrailers for videos.
That's why we got trailers back in the day, man.
Yeah,
it's crazy to think like this many years on from that first YouTube video, like what that site's become and how it's become like a central point for so many different companies now too, not just creators, but how we get information and how we consume gaming information. I mean, we're pulling up videos right now for gameplay for these games to be able to talk about it. Like, just insane, man.
Yeah, it's crazy how like the source of information and video specifically went to YouTube versus like other websites. Like I remember going to Screw Attack for a bunch of stuff, right? And now it's like that's gone.
Yeah,
I remember going to what's a Machinima before IGN was a thing for me back in the day. Like, that's like kind of like on the downside. And we're talking about Game Informer, not doing anything anymore.
Well, they're coming back.
yeah, in their own way. I mean, you can get EGM now for like the whole anthology as a book, which is kind of cool. Yeah. Does anybody know this game, Red Star?
I remember this game just because of the cover art. I remember picking it up when I was collecting PS2 games just because of the cover. Played it through, obviously, for what you're seeing right here, but I didn't go super deep into it. I just liked the style. The vibe was really cool. That kind of like Soviet Russia kind of vibe to this, like, basically arcade shooter.
Yeah, I think at the time, this was simply described as Contra on a modern console at the time, right? And one of the more rare game titles on the PS2, just because no one ever heard of it and not a lot of copies were bought, right? So not a lot of copies were printed. The art was pretty cool.
Now that I'm seeing this, though, I kind of want to give it a shot.
So I did forget this was based on the Red Star graphic novel. So it had a whole graphic novel that's based off. It's probably why people, like myself, are saying like the vibe was immaculate. It was for that reason.
Yeah, hence the art. There's like the cover art was like super like attractive, right? That's Xseed Games because they're pretty popular.
No, not Xseed.
Okay, but yeah, like you look at this art cover and you think, and then they tell you it's a Contra game. I'm like, I'm automatically. Cover art and like games you've played before in the genre usually make me want to try again. Right? That's just me. And that's why it's important for your characters and the aesthetic of the game to resonate with the audience because now they're going to want to play it. Right? Because right now I have no information on this game except like, yeah, I heard it's like a Contra game, but you look at the cover, you're like, oh, this is cool.
Yeah, and just to because we were looking at it, it is not Xseed, it is XS Games.
That's different,
yeah, XS. Based out of New York. They did some PlayStation games, XS Games, Virtual Pool, kind of random stuff. Red Star was one of like the standout different ones. They did do a they did Castle Shikigami 2 as well.
Nice. Yeah, that's shmup.
Okay.
So they definitely have a niche. That's cool. But yeah, check it out when you guys can. I mean, I can only imagine a copy of this game is super expensive. So if you can find it to play it somewhere in some way or form, please do give it a shot. Give them a shout out if they're still around. You know, we know your game's good. So the only other game here that I wanted to kind of like quickly mention was Tales of Kinzura-Zao. It's a search action game, very similar to like what is that? Prince of Persia, The Lost Crown. This, and every time I say, you know, I know we've had conversations, and I've had conversations with other people. You want to make a game yourself, and then make it unique, because like piggybacking on other IPs, like you just want the audience capture from that. And Tales of Kinzura-Zao I feel like was one of those games that was like, yeah, we'll make our own game. It's about like African mythology, with what do you call this? Like Prince of Persia Lost Crown gameplay, like search action, right?
Yeah.
So
I remember seeing trailers for this.
Yeah.
I really like the UI and the setup for it. Like the vibe is really nice.
Yeah, and I think this came out. This came out on the kind of like the hype of Black Panther. So it was a good timing for this. But unfortunately, like, you know, there is like a culture war happening in the gaming industry. So automatically you see this game, they're like, oh, they're pandering, blah, 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 right? So it's kind of annoying that like this game didn't get a chance. And unfortunately, I think these guys are owned by EA now or something. So like, but look at it. It's like, it's super responsive. The gameplay is super fun. Like, I feel like it's one of those games that didn't get a chance just because of the nature of the environment it was released in, which is unfortunate. And I feel like there should be more shows like us that kind of more talk more about the gameplay and how it, you know, how it's unique and original versus just like getting angry. It's pandering to the minorities or whatever. So I feel like this game lost to that, and it's kind of unfortunate because I think because think about it real quick, top of your head, other games that do African mythology, none. Right? So I think it's cool and it's important that we have stuff like this, because we asked for different, we asked for make your own game, and here it is, and nobody gave it a shot, right? Even though people complain about it all the time. So I think this is a good example.
Yeah, from what I was seeing in a lot of reviews on this, everyone really praised the storytelling and the like UI. It looks like a lot of the complaints came down to just being too easy, the controls being a little bit too like tight. So kind of middle of the road for a lot of people that played it, wanting to love it. From what the reviews are going anyway, you can only infer so much. You don't know who these people are, but it sucks that the team couldn't potentially follow up and prove on that kind of thing, because it clearly had like fans for it and had a solid base. It just maybe needed a little more time to sort out some stuff.
Yeah, and I think we're in a climate of video games where like it's cool to hate on stuff immediately as a knee-jerk reaction. So fun games like this get overshadowed by just like simple, like, you know, like culture war stuff.
Well, and not even like, aside from the culture war stuff, there's a lot of stuff going on in the industry right now with the rising cost of things, about how we are kind of forced, because of the current climate, to like re-evaluate how we feel about indie games and the value of indie games as a whole.
Yeah.
So this is a really good chance to try out those kind of games. And during the news section, when we get there, I'll mention that too, because that's something I noticed with the news. There was like with the releases happening this week, the stuff that's coming soon, like there's some indie games or newer titles that are going to get completely overshadowed if, you know, people don't give them a shot, or there's not any positive feedback on it, kind of thing. So it's super interesting.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway,
I think one of the games that Ace was actually playing was that Rhythm. Was that a rhythm-based game that was like, no, it was like wasn't it like a platformer shooter game that you were playing against? That like it was a game that looked like it was a recent one that you're playing, indie title. It wasn't Sagata, something. It was the other one. You were kind of you were talking about it on your stream and recommending it to your audience.
Oh, well, like two I could think of right off the bat. I'm pretty sure it's one of these two. It was either Cookie Cutter or Elsie.
I think it was Elsie, and I think both are indie games, right?
Yeah, both are indie.
Yeah, and that's what I mean. It's like that right there. Like that's what's important to like play Games. Man, I almost thought we were gonna get flagged for that thing up there on the top. No. I was like, Nick, what'd you do, man?
Don't put that on me. Don't put that evil on me, dude.
But anyway, yeah, it's important though.
But yeah, no. Speaking of which, though, like especially indies that I definitely recommend. Look, if you want to play a action exploration game that is pretty much like the essence of the old liquid television block from MTV back in the 90s, then check out Cookie Cutter. Like that is just straight up. You would swear that the Max might as well be a freaking NPC in this game.
When you remember the Max, the Purple Hulk. Man, you're dropping some knowledge that people are like, what? Who? Liquid television?
AKA no one, AKA the first place most people heard about Aeon Flux.
That's true. That's true. LC, man, I do need to play it, but I'm on Banchu Tactics right now. Jagos. Awesome. All right, let's see here. All right, we got to get through this list. We're almost done. All right. Good chats though. Good chats, guys. On the 24th of April, Prototype 2 had come out on the 360, PS3 in 2012. When we talk about games that need to be released, remade, or made a sequel, this is my choice. Like, I thought, when Armageddon came out, they released Deep Impact. When Infamous came out, Activision released Prototype. So Prototype actually won it for me over Infamous because of like the nature of like the character and the way like you're pretty much playing as Venom, right? You can turn your like symbiote into like weapons and stuff, and I thought that was super cool. Versus Infamous, you just have superpowers. But yeah, anybody have experience with Prototype 1, Prototype 2?
Of course. I played a little bit of Prototype 1, but since I was already moving on to PlayStation at that point, Infamous was, more on my radar than that.
Yeah, this is we have Infamous at home, according to the the masses. But what about you, Nick? Are you a Prototype fan or Infamous fan, or both?
I liked Prototype 1. I liked Infamous 2.
Okay.
So I flipped. I like not to say I disliked the other ones. It's just vibe wise what I preferred at the time. Because like you said, when both of them released at the same time, I could only really try one. I tried both eventually, but I still like the first Prototype. I really dug what they did with that. Infamous was cool, but I liked what they did with Infamous 2. Adding in the extra powers and stuff. So yeah, that's just what stood out to me.
Okay. Yeah, my main highlight on this was that I loved how Prototype 2 really took place after 1. So your pro tag in the first one is the antagonist in 2.
Yeah,
super cool. Like I thought that was neat, and so that got me hooked. Like when games say like when a sequel comes out and it says like your character, I'm in. I'm gonna play that because I was that guy. You're right. So it's always a good hook for me. Let's see. We have gameplay on the screen there. Sweet. Thank you, sir. All right, I'll read off some of the stuff here on the 24th. Mighty Bomb Jack on a Nintendo in 1986. I love the box art to this game. Mega Man and Bass on Super Nintendo in 1998 in Japan. Personal favorite of mine, Rampage Total Destruction on the GameCube PS2 in 2006.
Yes.
Lord of the Rings Online on PC in 2007. I didn't know that was a thing. Valkyria Chronicles on PS3 in 2008 in Japan, a great gem. Galgun 2 on the Switch and PS4 in 2018. If you guys have questions about that, I'll be more than happy to answer that. And Predator Hunting Grounds on the PC, PS4 in 2020. Let's not forget Trials of Mana on the Switch, PC, PS4 in 2020 as well. So the game that I have highlighted was Predator Hunting Grounds, more so on the reason that asymmetric games, I think, were like at the time, like pretty much the bee's knees. Like Dead by Daylight, like really hit it off really well, and other people were following it, right? And Predator Hunting Grounds was like Dead by Daylight with the Predator. And there's not a lot of good Predator games out there. The last one I played that was good was Concrete Jungle. and it wasn't even that good. I just liked it. But playing as a predator in this game is so cool. It's so sick. Like if this game had a player base now and it was really popular, I think this game would still be fun. And I feel like if they ever release another Predator movie, this would the player base would come back to this game. And if you guys have never heard of Predator Hunting Grounds, you play as it's a multiplayer game where one player plays a predator and 3 other players play as commandos that have to handle objectives on a map while the predator hunts them down. So you can you kind of have this choice whether to like let the team get wrecked by these NPCs while they do objectives. You can like take advantage of that and hunt them, or you can be the fun part and lure one of the guys away and just kill them and separate them from the rest. But there's multiple ways to play this game, and from my experience, like it's like the ultimate Predator experience for me. Unless they make another one down the road, this is it. This is the game. I don't know what's your guys' take and experience with Predator Hunting Ground.
Very little, as when this came out, I was kind of dipping my toe into Dead by Daylight, but I never really got into the asynchronous multiplayer stuff.
Mm-hmm. That's fair. I know you're not like a big into the online game,
but I will say, as far as just Predator content goes, my favorite's still going to be the Capcom AVP beat 'em up from the mid '90s
until Predator Warriors come out.
Either that, or until they finally decide to take the internet's suggestion and make a Predator movie set in freaking feudal Japan.
No, we're not.
Predator, feudal Japan, Hiroyuki Sanada.
At least he didn't say ancient China. No, there is like a mini series, I think, of different eras. Predator. They revisit those times. Kind of like Prey. You guys seen Prey?
Yeah.
So they're doing that with different timepieces.
Okay.
I just remember when this came out, all the the content creators playing games with their friends and stuff. It was fun to watch.
It was really fun to watch. It's a very entertaining game to watch. Also, I have to add that to play, it's kind of jank. 100%. It's you look at it, it's kind of jank, but that's the charm. It's so janky.
I think it was like the charm of being able to go invisible and live like the Predator dream from the movies we grew up watching, kind of thing, like the old school one. It lets you live that power fantasy of being the Predator hunter while like reveling in the jank. So I mean, it was fun, like you said, to watch it just for that reason.
Yeah. So it's not for everybody, and honestly, it's to me it's a budget title, but the concept of the game is like perfect. Right. And I think they were definitely onto something. It definitely didn't have. It was made by Ilphonic, and Ilphonic did like, I think they started with Friday the 13th and they moved on to this because eventually Friday the 13th got canned because something with the lawsuit against the creator of Friday the 13th. So that sucks. All right. Anything else?
Not on that one.
All right. We'll go to the next one. 25th. All right, look at this. On the 25th in 1989, River City Ransom released on a Nintendo in Japan. Looks a little bit different than the American version, doesn't it? Because in Japan, these guys is Kunio and Ricky, I think. Ricky and Kunio are Alex and Ryan. And, they have their original. We localize it for us, but it's from these two guys that created the Crash and the Street Boys, World Cup Soccer, right? Super Dodgeball, all rooted from these two jokesters, these two brawlers, and also in the Double Dragon universe, apparently, because of River City Girls. So that's fantastic. I would love to hear your River City stories, guys, because I have one and it's not great.
Yeah. You go first this time, Nick.
Oh, no, I don't have anything for this one. Oh, I didn't have it back in the day. Didn't play it. It was one of those ones like I knew of it, just never had it. And then I got really into when River City Girls came out, playing that and the beat 'em ups that came out after River City. And then I went back to play these ones. So nothing for me. So you guys can take it. I know we're getting a little long in the tooth, so I don't want to take too much time.
Well, for me, I had the chance to, like, the first time I actually sat down and played River City Ransom was actually when I was in middle school. You know, one of the friends that I actually got the chance to link up with over the weekend, he was the friend of mine that had River City Ransom. So we'd sit down, play it, and I'm like, oh man, this is like double, like literally the first thing that came to my mind was Double Dragon with RPG elements. But then I started looking back over the history of the game and the, different other things that it spawned, and it's like, oh wait, World Cup Soccer was River City, Super Spike Volleyball was River City, and it just, for me, the rest was history from there. Like, I absolutely enjoyed every single River City game I've gotten my hands on thus far. I plan on getting the River City Three Kingdoms.
Of course.
I mean, come on.
Yeah, we knew that was coming.
Come on. Yeah. But I also, back when, back before he joined Way Forward, Bannon Rudis was actually the main character designer at this little indie Canadian developer called Conidus Creative, and they sat down, developed, and released River City Ransom Underground.
Yeah, it was an homage to the OG, right? Because at the time they weren't really doing anything with it in the West, right?
Yep,
What did they get permission to make that from Technos?
Yeah, they actually managed to get permission from Technos to make that one, and it actually, it doesn't follow Kunio and Ricky. It actually, follows Alex and Ryan.
Yeah, it's like their own story now. It's not like a localized version. It's actually their own branch.
Right. Story. And in fact, my, the main character avatar that I have been using for years now, both on YouTube and on Twitch, is a edit of Glenn from River City Underground.
It's true. Check it out. And Jagos, my story to this is exactly what you said. Eat food, gain XP. So when I was a kid, I was never good at RPGs. I didn't understand them. The idea of leveling up was like, what's that? So I was the equivalent of like the Madden and Call of Duty player when it came to gaming. When I was a kid, right? I was only playing the mainstream arcade games ported over to consoles. And so any RPGs that were like Final Fantasy IV, River City Ransom. My first RPG ever was Ultima Online, or Ultima Exodus, and that shit gave me nightmares. Like, it was terrible. It was hard, and it was only hard because I didn't know how to play it. I didn't understand the concept of like grinding and leveling up your character. I wasn't a very smart kid, but man, River City was no different. Like, I was stuck on Moose for a while, right? And Moose is like the first boss in the factory, and I was like, I can't beat this guy. He's too strong. Because I didn't know that eating the items actually leveled your stats. I thought they just healed you. So yeah, like I said, I wasn't a very bright kid, and once I figured it out, I was like, oh, I'm gonna grind until I'm like the god, River City god, and I beat up everybody. It was fun. So that's all I got for that one. All right, other games that come out this day. We got Disaster Report, the OG on the PS2 in 2002 in Japan. A little fun game called Lost Kingdoms on the GameCube in 2002 in Japan, which is like a weird RPG card game. Fire Emblem on the Game Boy Advance in 2003 in Japan, the OG as well. Area 51, kind of like an offshoot off that Midway shoot title on the PS2 and Xbox in 2005. My personal favorite racing game, Outrun 2006, Coast to Coast on the PS2, PSP, Xbox in 2006. Virtua Tennis 3 in the arcade in 2006 in Japan. And Akira Toriyama's probably last game project, Sandland, on the PS4, PS5, Xbox Series X, and in 2004 in Japan. So, the only thing I have left is Michael Bay and Sydney Sweeney are making an Outrun movie, and I'm excited because it's going to be bad.
There goes one of the news items.
Oh, is that? Okay, I didn't know that.
Nope, it's fine. Ruin the surprise.
I love that.
Spoilers.
Spoilers. That's me. Oh, all right. Move on to the last one here. All right, Legend of Oasis. I think we asked about this last time. Was like which when No Shoes was here.
Mhm.
We asked which was the Legend of Zelda version on the Super Nintendo and on the Sega. And I think he said Beyond Oasis, right?
Yeah.
And this is like the sequel to that. Beyond Oasis was in Genesis, and this was the Legend of Oasis on the Saturn. Came out in 1996, also called The Story of Thor 2. So it was called The Story of Thor in Japan, Legend of Oasis. And so super cool game. I'll bring up the gameplay here because you'll see. Pretty cool. I liked it. And I feel like this game would survive now if it was re-released as an indie title or a successor to it somewhere. So I mean, look at it. Super charming. I'll just read off some of the other games that came out on the 26th, like a small game called Super Smash Bros. On the N64 in 1990. Nobody knows about that.
Indie title. No one's going to care.
No one cares. Guild Wars on the PC in 2005. Okay. Predator Concrete Jungle, let's go, on the PS2, Xbox in 2005. My pick, Alien Nation on the PS4 in 2016. Days Gone also came out that day in 2019. Honkai Star Rail on the Android, iOS, PC in 2023. Demon Slayer Kimetsu no Yaiba Sweep the Board, which is like a Mario Party with a Demon Slayer motif to it on the Switch in 2024. And of course, Stellar Blade, we cannot forget, on PS5 last year. Stay. People can argue that it brought back the 7th gen era of gaming. But yeah, Alien Nation was this like isometric it's not a shmup, but it was an action shooter but developed by the devs of Dead Nation. Alien Nation, Dead Nation, but Dead Nation was about zombies. And it was a really good indie title on the PS3, PS4 era. So I wanted to give him like a shout out because like this is one of like the few like twin stick shooters that require a little bit of thinking because not all aliens are created equal and you need specific guns to kill some of them properly.
Oh.
And your character leveled up and you have a stamina bar, so it's not just like a mindless shooter. But it does get the longer time you spend on the stage, the more points you get, but also the more dangerous it gets. So it's like you have to balance it out. Okay. Yeah, this one was much more faster paced than Dead Nation. Dead Nation focused more on surviving. This one focused more on like your movement, active reloads, and kind of like quick decision making. So super cool game. I highly recommend it for like a cheap like $10 game. All right. And yeah, so I guess like Stellar Blade, Ace, like I feel like this has been talked about a lot, but what's your 2 cents on it?
Yeah, Stellar Blade, you could almost say Stellar Blade has been talked to death, but honestly, it was one of my top picks for last year because the game was just,
You'd say it's pretty stellar.
Yeah.
Blade.
But no, it was a fun time. And also, again, I had been following as an artist, I had been following the director of Stellar Blade, Young Tae Kim. I'd been following him since back in 2000, 2001, just keeping up with his artwork and the various projects and the other games that he had worked on. For the folks that were looking for, decent RPGs on the Xbox 360, you might have run across Magna Carta 2. That was another of Young Tae Kim's projects.
I think Tatsunoko is playing that on his channel right now. You guys know Tatsu.
And yeah, just my time with Stellar Blade was just a lot of fun.
There it is.
Oh, there you go. Magna Carta Tears of Blood on the PS2.
Magna Carta and boobies.
But it's a game that it's got great art direction. The combat is more Sekiro than something like Dark Souls or Bloodborne. So
which is a reason that I would play it, because I can't do like Dark Souls, but I could do something like this. I'm terrible with patterns and stuff, so Jagos, when I checked out the game you suggested earlier, it's got patterns and stuff, and I may not be very good at it.
I remember playing the demos of this Ace and telling chat some random.
And yeah, just the aesthetic, as I mean, just audio visually, just the aesthetic of the game is really cool. This this dope little sci-fi, again, sci-fi post-apocalypse, and just everything from the monster designs to the animation, but definitely the music is very much a standout. Just a great soundtrack that just really, really gets you into the game, especially when it swells during the action points.
Cool.
And music's pretty important. I think I remember watching this documentary of like how if the wrong music was played in the wrong scene, it just ruins the scene. So
I love those like reels and stuff, though. There's some fantastic stuff that people have done.
Yeah, gaming is no different. I feel like you need that. So it's a big part of the gaming experience as well. I mean, Metal Gear Revengeance is all about music.
Right.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that too, because there's definitely something like briefly mentioned in the news section as well, just about hearing about one of the games that's coming out and the OST for it. Apparently, is banging, fantastic, and really makes a huge impact on the game.
Okay, well, I'd love to hear it because you're up. That was This Week in Gaming History. And like the title said, too many games, guys. Too many. But hey, we got a new keyword here for Quick Bites and the Rumor Mill, courtysy of
the Shadow Dude.
Yeah, that's the Rumor Mill, and we're gonna boot this baby up right now. Mysterious. Look at the game he's playing. Dynasty Warriors Legends.
Is that a new game for Ace?
For the DS. Legends.
That's what Ace has been waiting for, the new rumored Dynasty Warriors games.
Let's go. All right, man. Take her away, my friend.
All right, news. We're going to be quick because I know we want to get to Ace's tech. So for this last week, let's talk about some fun stuff that's come out. If you weren't bright-eyed and bushy-tailed waking up this morning, and in case you missed it, at 8 a.m., Elder Scrolls Oblivion Remastered was dropped by Bethesda. This remaster was released. It's going to cost $50, which a lot of people who are already playing it, because it was literally shadow dropped, maybe not super shadowed. It's been rumored for a while. And we've been talking about it, but the game was redone in Unreal 5 and it looks fantastic. It has real-time lighting, completely new models, UI UX updates, completely new lines of dialogue, basically a giant like slew of new updates that like modernizes some of the game systems, but keeps some of like the original world and some of the quirkiness that's it's known for, like some of the original like voice acting, like the guards. Yeah, hilarious. In case you didn't catch the details, it is also it includes the DLC, both DLCs that came out for it with this release. It is out on the PS5 at the same time. Cool. And it still has that sweet horse armor in the deluxe edition that we were talking about earlier. If you want it, it's crazy to think too, because it does look fantastic.
It does.
They could have completely pulled off this shadow drop if, like on this kind of scale. It's crazy to think that could happen. I mean, remember the details for this leaked during the FCC court case against Microsoft, and that's how we knew it was being made. Not only that, but one of the devs on the projects posted like details about it on their LinkedIn profile. But if that stuff didn't happen, just imagining this game coming out, like it looks incredible, it looks great. And even though I wasn't a fan of Oblivion back in the day when it first came out, this is getting me really interested because it looks really, really good. And for $50, it's going to kind of be the thing people are talking about for the next week. The closed alpha for Marathon is also pretty much currently happening. It was supposed to be coming out tomorrow. Bungie originally said it was supposed to be on the 14th, but it appeared to launch a day early on Twitch when a streamer started playing the alpha for it.
Oh my god. He's going to get sued or what?
No. So it apparently had started a little bit early. It wasn't something where they accessed it and they weren't supposed to. The servers were up, but they are down. At least when I was checking out the news and was writing it this morning. So they might be back up. If they're not, they will technically be up tomorrow. But it was just super interesting to see that being played already in the closed alpha. but people will be able to get their eyes on it a little bit early. Speaking of some seasonal stuff, Diablo 4 Season 8 is in the news, my friends. A live stream will happen on the 24th, and we'll drop some more details, but we know a few things already. James, I know that you've been playing the more recent seasons of it. I fell off a couple ago. This next season, we'll focus on Belial. We'll have new quests, new boss powers, a bunch of quality of life updates. It is releasing April 29th, so it's coming soon. It will have the overhauled battle pass that they've been talking about, and there will be a Berserk crossover.
Yeah, I like that. I saw that.
Yeah. Blizzard also mentioned they'll be looking to find the sweet spot with this one and are intending to bring the Nerf hammer to like certain OP builds. They're going to try to balance that out, which, is not the first time they talked about the game being potentially too easy, but it's on the tip of their minds. It looks like this next season's going to be doing that.
This is just the most quiet they've been on an update, which is like what was concerning to me. That's all I wanted to know.
Yeah, maybe quiet, but at the same time, in a couple days, they're going to have a bunch of information, and then 5 days later, they'll just have it available. So kind of similar to, there's a lot of people who reacted to the announcement for Oblivion being Shadow Drop this morning. They're just like, hey, this is the way it should be. Bring up this thing that's available now, or bring up this thing that's available coming in the next week, not 6 years from now kind of thing. So maybe them being quieter is a good thing, so they can kind of focus in and get that stuff done. We'll see if it brings a lot of positive vibes to the game again. Like, it'll be absolutely worth it. So maybe this is just a different tact. Maybe that's good after all the failed like fireside chats and stuff, and kind of like not tone deaf, but kind of like the flat response those had. This might be the way they just have to handle it. Dragon Ball Sparking Zero Diamond's first DLC had an official trailer. It did confirm the release date is on the 24th. It's only 2 days away. There isn't any new story content, but 8 characters are arriving, and an update for the game launched today. Since we're already talking about April 24th, I'll bring up this as well. In case you missed it, Nintendo will start pre-orders for the Switch 2 in the US on that date. So the 24th is packed with things to do and things to see. They did announce that the console will stay at $449 in the US market, but prices on a bunch of the accessories did go up. For anyone still in the world of Division 2, an exclusive report from Insider Gaming states that the next DLC, called Battle for Brooklyn, is expected to release sometimes towards the end of May. The writer of the article, Tom Henderson, also reported that it's likely to be a smaller DLC, and the devs are planning to sell it for $15. Marvel Rivals announced a costume color customization feature. That's a mouthful, and it will cost $6.
Costume.
And the thing about it too is that players will have to get the costume they want to customize the features, and only specific costumes will be allowed to be customized as well. Maybe their swimsuit special that's coming along will have that option. I don't know, but that is a steep price. We'll see how it goes. Okay, statue fans, Ace, you'll love to hear this. You can have your cake and eat it too. Stellar Blade fans can buy hyper realistic statues of Eve. You can buy the statues of the 2 characters from the game, but they are not cheap. Eve's figure will set you back $2,400. It is 1 meter tall. It weighs almost 10 kilograms. The studio in charge did reveal a double pack with both of the characters for $3,899, but it is already sold out. The horny bat may need to be used here, friends. In a social media post, the CEO of J&D responded to fan requests to make Eve's butt more accurate, i.e., bigger, compared to what you see in the game. Spoiler alert: they did it. If you can see, I'm going to share this screen. This was
they're paying that much for it. They better make it accurate. So.
Yeah, the 2-pack sold out. You can still get Eve though, Ace, but I'll see if I can zoom in. I can't zoom in. There you go. That was his response. Listened to a lot of your opinions for 3 days after the first Stellar Blade video went out. So I'm going to
there's a little bit more robust.
Yes. So they made her butt match what's in the game, and they did it. So you did it, boys. You got your cake.
You win.
You got it. Wins for everyone around. Uh, Pokemon Go creator Niantic Spatial has laid off 68 people after it sold its game portfolio for $3.5 billion. I know that a lot of us were talking about Niantic recently. Since that sale happened, they're restructuring now, so we can see why there's some of those layoffs. But they're aiming to effectively be a startup all over again as they change their focus from gaming to be a geospatial AI business. So it sounds like Niantic is getting out of the gaming scene. 11-Bit Studios announced a new Frostpunk game, which is awesome, that it will also release in 2027. It was announced during the recent earnings call, which also shared they are developing another larger scale title, but there's no real other information than that, besides the fact it sounds like it's not going to release till 2029. But still, for fans of Frostpunk, that's awesome. This last week also saw the announcement of a new character for Elden Ring Night Rain, marking the third new character in the past few weeks. The character is named Raider and is not only a full-fledged brawler with a massive axe, but also an earthbender who summons masses of rocks during battle. Duchess and Iron Eye were already announced ahead of the May 30th release date. We aren't done with Souls-like yet, friends. In case you didn't see it, there is another indie title coming out kind of riding that Souls-like wave. It's going to be called Tomb Water. That has officially debuted. We've seen more and more of these indie titles kind of take off lately, like we said before. So maybe this kind of blend will find its niche because it's a Wild West themed Souls-like. And it's definitely an indie title. So players can actually try out the game's prologue and opening scenes, as well as, multiple weapons and a major boss fight at the end of it. So check that out if you're interested. Civ 7 did have a new update released today. James and I over the weekend played a little Civ 6, so that was fun. Yep, still here. Can't play 7 because it's still having lots of issues. But hey, new release of an update today. The One More Turn feature is back, which a lot of people in the community have been asking for a while. The fact that it wasn't in there was super perplexing, but it's back, as well as research queuing. The team also previously promised 2 new leaders, 4 new Civs, 4 new wonders, all of which will be added between April and September. So keep your eyes peeled for more stuff. And this was already ruined earlier, but I was going to say, hey, did you know that another Sega classic title is getting a movie adaptation? I swear this is not an April Fool's joke, but it may sound like it. I was going to say any guesses, but now we know it is Outrun. So Outrun is that classic arcade game released in 1986. It's getting this live action Outrun movie with Michael Bay directing and Sydney Sweeney producing.
Michael Bay, bro. He's getting old. That's not the picture I wanted. Here, where is it? This is the one. There you go. Look at that.
There we go.
That's it right there. That's the future of gaming.
As we did toss that into like the AI generator and just see what we get out of it. Because you can do that now with like trailers. There's been a bunch of like AI slop stuff where you can just like put in just random stuff and they'll make a movie trailer for you and like the amalgamation of faces and stuff. It's weird. That's pretty much everything I had for the news. Again, trying to blow through quick. I did have 2 quick rumor mill things just to bring up because I know people love that. Again, take all this stuff as a grain of salt. We'll see what we get in the end. But oh, hey, Marathon, you're back. A recent Forbes report from Paul Tassi doubled down on earlier claims, and in the vein of Helldivers 2, the upcoming Bungie extraction shooter will likely be $40. So we had our whole panel discussion last week about Marathon, and we're kind of settled in about that price. So it sounds like some industry insiders and people in the know, or at least familiar with stuff, are kind of equating it to the same. Last Thursday, a 1-minute trailer appeared online and was found by people that detailed a Star Wars Outlaws DLC that hasn't been officially announced. Ubisoft already jumped on that and took it down, but a bunch of people saw it, and now we know that it's called A Pirate's Fortune, and the video explained it will launch on May 15th. You can check out leaked details online. Things like some of the new cosmetics are from the Skeleton Crew show that's been doing so well. It's going to have a new story. But yeah, that leaked online and then immediately got struck down. So we'll get some more information soon. I had some other rumor stuff I'm going to put on the back burner for now because we want to get to Ace, but that was the news for the week.
Thanks, sir. Appreciate that, as always.
All right, I know that Ace is all about the cake now. He's done. He's going to save up his pennies.
$600. All right, I guess not. All right. Well, here's something that's free. That's not $2,600. tech. Let's go. Look how cool that looks. So I don't know who that guy in the far left is, but I know that's like bootleg Link, and then that's like Ike, which is funny because you thought you said Ike was cool.
Mhm.
So there he is, and that this was made before you talked about that.
That's Link in the water temple.
with the blue suit. But yeah, but hey, with no delay, let's. I want to hear what you got to say about the Charge Blade.
So, class, welcome to Charge Blade 101. I'm your instructor, BlazingAceNelson, and well, let's wait for it to get back on the
my
screen.
helmet.
There we go. And the best I can say to summarize the Charge Blade is, if you're looking for a weapon that goes between the speed and versatility of the sword and shield and the raw stopping power of the switch axe, then Charge Blade's definitely going to be where you're going to want to go.
Charge Blade got the juice.
So, you've got this bad boy powered up. You have your, larger sword and larger shield. But the Charge Blade, while the Charge Blade is another weapon that definitely depends on you mastering your transitions between sword and shield and and axe mode. Part of that transition is making sure that you as GQ said earlier, making sure that you got the juice for it. Hence, you'll see the three little Roman candle looking things up there on the UI. Those are your files. Now, as you charge, basically as you utilize your default mode with this, which is of course the sword and shield, as you utilize your different attacks between that, you can actually charge up. You can actually charge up sword energy. And once you've got energy charged up, once you've got your files charged up, you can actually channel that energy into increasing the damage that your sword can do. But hang on. Oh, wait. I seem to have made a mistake, because you won't be able to charge up your sword until you enhance your shield first. Why? Because enhancing your sword literally is like drawing that same energy from the shield. Like so.
It's so cool. It's like a Bloodborne weapon.
Right? But with your shield charged up, you've got better defensive capability. Oh, with your sword charged up, you actually have it to where your attacks won't deflect. But on top of that, with the shield charged up, you have access to a maneuver called the amped element discharge, where you are literally setting off the files with your strikes. So let's go ahead and charge some of this up real quick. Boom. So now that you've got your files charged up, you can actually go into your axe mode and start actually using that energy you've built up. So now that we're over here in axe mode, slower swings, but you're dishing out more damage per strike. And also, you see the extra little explosions that were coming off of the attack. Those were your files detonating with each strike. So as you detonate the files from the energy that you've built up in sword mode, you're dishing out extra damage, or dishing out extra effects depending on the type of file that is inherent to the specific charge blade you're using. So you have impact files, which will exhaust monsters more as you nail them with them, but also you can do staggers and stuns. Whereas with the element files, you're actually discharging explosions of, various elements, fire, ice, lightning, that kind of thing. And yes, that also includes, stuff like dragon, where you can actually, if you have a dragon element file, you can, you can tag enemies with dragon blight, which literally makes it so that whatever element they use is rendered ineffective, or at the very least weakened.
Oh, is that what Dragon does?
Yeah,
I never knew that. Thought it was just
I
its own
I
thing.
found that out the hard way. Stupid Gormagala. But again, if you wanted to actually, if you want to actually get into the flow of utilizing your charge blade, it's instead of transitioning between forms, it's more of transferring the energy that you build up between forms. So while it shows off, some of the basic combos down there for like, whether or not you want to do like your basic combo or your sword element boost, I can give you a relatively simple combo that's going to help you get all of your files charged and also get your armaments charged up and ready to transition into axe mode for your big, bouts of burst damage. And it's pretty simple. We're going to go with the charged rising slash, so hold circle. And note, when you do that, you'll actually see like there's a point where there's a point where you'll see the optimum time to let the charged slash go, and it'll be right about here. So you'll see that kind of burst of energy, and then when you let the button go, you'll do the 2 swings. When you land attacks with that swing, you actually start charging up your files. So you can go ahead and do the charge animation and store the energy. Now, if you go with the charge slash and then do the sword shield thrust, that right there is kind of like it's almost like a cancel animation, where even if you go from a normal attack, you can go into the sword, into the sword shield thrust. It's just a quick shot of damage, but if you do 2 rotations of that, you'll already have enough energy charged up to where after, let's say, after the shield thrust, sorry, needed to fire off one of the files. And that's another thing you have to keep in mind. If you're at full ammo and you've got the files flashing red, your attacks are going to bounce off of the monster. So you got to at least have a little bit of room left in the tank. But you do 2 of those, go into a charge, and you'll basically have full ammo there. And from the charge, if you hold your secondary attack, that'll dump the files into your shield. Once you've got energy in the shield, you can actually go into the charge again and dump some of the energy from your shield into your sword, thus getting both of your weapons basically, ready to go. And then from there, same thing. Charge slash, stab with the shield. 2 rotations of that. And that right there is basically going to be your shortcut to full files and enhanced sword and shield. And then from there, you can transition into your axe, start doing element discharge slashes, and let off the remaining energy in the files for bigger damage. But what's even more is that you can actually, effectively shortcut that string of attacks as well, depending on when you want to, say, move into axe mode to do, a quick bout of damage, and then spend some of your energy to transition back into the sword. So there's your that right there would be your instance of, coming up with a flow for your strikes, just like again with moving between sword mode and axe mode with the switch axe. Now, when you're doing the focus strikes, you've got your focus crosshairs up. You can move around, you can sidestep, you still have access to your basic attacks. But then, if you actually destroy a wound on a monster,
Pizza cutter.
that will immediately put you into Power Axe mode, which is the new mode that was added for Monster Hunter Wilds. And with Power Axe mode, you can actually set off element discharges a lot easier if you've got fuel in the tank. And then, of course, there's what's known as, I guess you could call it the main attraction of the Charge Blade, that being the super amped element discharge. So let's go ahead and transition into Axe mode. And you can see it right there. There's already listed at the bottom a good pathway to actually firing off the SA discharges. So you do your swings. And the SAED is literally, dumping all of the energy that you have in your files into that shockwave, which is a more concentrated attack for your statuses or your element damage.
It's the big hit.
So again, there's some layers to it. There's definitely some layers to the Charge Blade, but consider that you're going to be using a lot more of the mobility that comes with the standard mode, and you're going to be using that to build up energy for additional damage. Use the sword to get energy, dump the energy into your gear, transition to axe mode, and that's your burst damage. And that, while being one of the more complicated weapons to try and start with in Monster Hunter, that right there is your 101 course for Charge Blade.
Do you know if you swing with the axe while it's charged, if you hold the slash down, it grinds it?
Oh, so that's what sets it up? Hang on.
Yeah, check it out. You can keep doing it too. So keep swinging. Look at that. It's beautiful. I love it.
Oh, you learn something new every day.
I love it. Yeah, I'm a Charge Blade main. Yeah, so that's why I love that.
Yeah, and that's why I had to be really careful with making sure I delivered the best information I could for this, because I don't want the Charge Blade mains in the audience to come after me.
Be in your DMs now. Go back to Buso.
A blog about you, taking you down.
But yeah, like I said, that's the rookie level stuff. That's Charge Blade 101.
I didn't know that combo from the beginning, how you get to the full files. So that was good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that one I actually learned from Oliver.
Oh, really? Like the hit shield into the slash?
Yep.
That was really good. Cool. No, I love it. I love it. All right, chat. You guys learned something new with the Charge Blade and why it's the best weapon in Monster Hunter? Because you have both the best defense and the best offense with the complicated mechanic in between.
I'm sorry. All the weapons in Monster Hunter Wilds are the best weapon, but you want to know what the best weapon in the series is, period? It's the Tonfas, damn it.
That's not out yet.
No, it was in Monster Hunter Frontier, but Capcom are cowards and won't bring it into the mainline titles.
I would have put it past them to be like, let's go ahead and make it a DLC, you know what I'm saying?
Oh God.
I want to put it past them. All right, so one last thing before we hit the road tonight, guys. I know we're running a little late, but here we go. We got playing. I don't know why this is still up.
Just really wants to stay around, man. I get it.
I guess so. It's still now playing. What video games are being played? Like, what's everybody playing right now? Because yeah, I think we talked about it earlier. I'm kind of still playing the same stuff since last. I am on the last 2 levels of King Arthur, so I'm excited.
Nice.
You also played Civ 6 over the weekend.
It's true, and I was like, that game always makes me feel stupid because there's so much happening on the screen, you know.
Well, we gotta finish our match, and it's gonna probably end a little bit too quick because we put a limit on it, unfortunately, at 250 turns. But the AI in our game is starting to get a little squiffy. It's starting to get a little freaky because we're on
Saladin.
Yeah, we're on Pangea, and Saladin is right next to me, and he's very militaristic. He already tried to take on Abe Lincoln.
Like on my end, Kublai Khan is telling me I'm not science enough, which is
yeah, that's right. He was talking about you.
Man, I already lived this in real life that I don't go to school enough, and I gotta hear it from an Asian in the video game too. Damn. All right, what are you guys playing?
As for what I've been playing this week, well, I haven't been playing too much Monster Hunter, even though, we just finished up with the tech, but I've been playing more of the First Descendant, trying to finally, grind out the components for the new Ultimate variant that came out. I also plan on playing through the story campaign for Blair once I get back on it. But other than that, over the past few days, especially while I've been on vacation, I decided to take my Switch with me on the flight. And I've been playing a little game that I like to call Popo's Bizarre Adventure, a.k.a. Astral Chain.
All right.
And, man, I am so getting Chaos Legion vibes from this.
Of course.
And I'm absolutely digging it.
There is no more pure game anymore. It's just copies of other games.
There's nothing new under the sun.
One thing I did forget to mention during Rumor Mill was just some of the stuff around Clair Obscur, which is the reviews will be hitting soon, but some of the stuff you're seeing in the gaming link leaks and stuff are some early reviews and responses already getting out. And that is a game that apparently is getting amazing reviews, and that might be overshadowed a little bit by Oblivion. That's what we were kind of talking about before, and a bunch of the other updates happening right now. But that one, apparently the music is top tier. Like, it's fantastic. It really adds to the game. And the writing is really good, very emotional, impactful, like good stuff. So if you've got to take a chance on something, turn-based RPG, like JRPG style, with some very good early leaked reviews, check that out. I think that team should get a shout out for, it's something new, it's something different.
And it's from a 30-person development team.
Yeah,
this is a small team that is working on Clair Obscur, and my take on it. Screw the reviews. I just want the game.
Yeah. Well, it's something that is going to, for all intents and purposes, it should blow up from what people are saying if these reviews can be believed, kind of thing. So just kind of keep an eye out for that over this next week. We'll probably talk about it. I know that I'm looking forward to it too, but like I said, with Oblivion coming out and all the stuff about these other games that we're currently playing, kind of thing, it's just that's one I just kind of wanted to shout out. Not to interrupt you, Ace. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no worries. I was just gonna say that I'll be getting Clair Obscur this week. I pretty much plan to get it right on release, and I'll probably be playing it, maybe even trying to stream it for a little bit. And it's basically I'm going to be jumping between that and City of the Wolves.
Yeah. For what I'm playing, I'm still, besides Civ 6, I'm still playing Baldur's Gate because the last update came out, and there's still more Act 1s I need to replay. This last weekend, since it was rainy on Sunday and all my friends were busy, what I ended up doing is finally sitting down and playing Marvel's Guardian of the Galaxy game that came out. And a friend of mine has been trying to get me to play that for a while now, since the game play out. He's always talked about how good it is. And I've played the first level in the past, but I actually decided to sit down and play it. And I really liked it. It's a single player game in a time of everything battling for my time and online kind of games. It was very fun to play. And honestly, better writing than I thought it would be. Like some really good story beats, got a little emotional at the end too. Like I don't want to say it's underrated because people have been singing its praises for a while. But if you checked it out, like I think it's absolutely worth it. A 20 to 25 hour single player experience, fun gameplay, great graphics, good writing. I gave it a shot, and I'm glad I did.
Cool.
Right
That's stuff I like to hear. Games that don't get enough mentions and get overshadowed by other games. I'm actually glad that you brought up the whole Oblivion thing, because I did make a post on X earlier about how shadow dropping this game kind of Oblivion, I should say Oblivion. I feel like it may ruin Clair Obscur Expedition 33's success, right? And not to just take away from like their effort or anything like that. By all means, I've never played Oblivion, and this is very exciting for me too, that this game came out, because I do want to get into it, and it's now the perfect time. But I was thinking of like the person that has like I said, we talk about this on the channel all the time. The person that only has one purchase in this month, right? So the question that I post on X, and I'll bring it up right now. I'll read it. Let's see here. This is wrong profile. No, I don't want to be verified. Go away. I put, let's see here. I hate being the part of this gaming culture war, but let's face it, times are tough. Funds are limited. If one game fails over another game being released, especially if it's a remaster, then what does that say about us as consumers? Do we play a new game or a better version of an old one? Right? That's my question that I threw out there for everybody. And so it's like it's more so focused on like, I have one purchase to make. Is it the game that I've loved before, probably already beaten played, but it's now better, shinier coat, right? Also, let's just face it, it's from a big company, or this brand new game that I'm really excited about, been excited about, and all of a sudden my past comes to haunt me, and it's luring my money away now. This, right? So it's kind of like that's how I feel about the situation. Obviously, my vote is going to go always to Clair Obscur, just because it's a new company. I'm always like, these guys are taking risks. It's different. Just because it's it's not a remaster. It's like these guys made it from scratch. These are all assumptions, and so I want to give them a shout out, and also like praises for you said 30-person team, Ace, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's fantastic versus like a monster like Bethesda that's released this game already and shadow dropping it before the release of this other game. I feel it's a little BM, but I don't think that was intentional, in my opinion.
No, I don't think it was intentional either. And to your point earlier, and like Scorpio says in the chat, it is on Games Pass. So if you have to make a choice, like at least you can get the mid-tier, because you can't get it with Xbox Game Core, the cheap one. But with the mid-tier, at least you can get Oblivion and play it. I think that you said exactly what I did, in that I didn't really play the original or wasn't as excited for the original, but this one looks great. It really does. Like, it is that impressive, even from the trailers, the amount of effort the two teams, it wasn't just Bethesda, I think it was Virtuous, I forget the name of it. But they were the main devs on this remastered. The amount of work that they put in to update everything, record new audio, like that, it is a legit, like it's kind of that line between remaster and remake. Like, they put a lot of effort into this. So hats off to them. But
for sure,
Andre, and what we were talking about with Clair Obscur is the leaks and stuff that they're talking about it's tomorrow is the date that the embargo is lifted on it, so we'll see like maybe a little bit broader of a thing. But there's a lot of people that are rooting for this, because apparently like they're blown away by what they're playing, like the characters and writing and stuff. And for me, especially on the back of playing Guardians of the Galaxy, where the story really carried that for me, I'm really interested to see how well this does, because I can look up right now, and on our Discord I can see Andre's playing Metaphor, and that game's story was like a huge factor in like the success of that, despite the fact feeling so much like what kind of came before, in some other Persona titles. Not to say that it's exactly the same. I've already sent its praises on our podcast. But yeah, no, it's the visual style, the music, the story, the writing. It sounds like something that is going to be unique and new, and I want to check it out.
Yeah, I mean, I I just hope it works out. That's all I'm saying, because just the way the nature of things are. It's also not also the purchase. It's also the what do you call it? The exposure.
Yeah.
So I just feel like it's a little bit unfair, and I feel like, they I think they're doing great, but I feel like they may be a little bit bummed out. Like, oh my God, we're gonna go against Oblivion. Come on now, I feel like that's in the air over there at least. So, good. Yeah, best wishes to Claire Screw. I will make that purchase. Just for the chat, it is not a full price title. It's $49.99. It is a good pickup.
Oh, even better.
Yeah, good and unique. And I will eventually play both. I'm excited for both games. I'm just speaking for the guys that have no accessibility to both at this moment. Right?
Yeah,
at this moment. All right. Yeah, I don't know what I'm going to play after King Arthur. I think I'm going to copy of Lost, or not Lost, but Judgment is on its way. So maybe that's the next one I'll be playing on the A to Z Gaming Challenge, or either that or the Order 1886. So, no more.
I mean, Order 1886 you could beat in one sit down in a couple hours. So I mean, you can just toss that on and get it done.
Sounds good. Yeah, and I'll probably I'll do an unboxing of.
Even that'll pad out the gameplay. Good idea.
Yeah, I'll make it 2 sessions instead of 1. Yeah, and then I'll definitely. How long is Judgment? You guys.
How do you play your games, my friend? Like, are you a completionist? You have to dive into those side stories. Like,
right.
What are we talking about?
I feel like.
How long is Judgment? Well, it's an RGG game, so
I haven't played any of them, so I don't know. Yeah, it's a little died inside a little bit. So, I think I said somewhere 20 to 30 hours. You know, it's funny. I asked ChatGPT how long Mass Effect was, and Mass Effect said 20 to 40 hours if you don't do anything else.
If you don't do anything else, but that's not how I play those games. That's why I ask. Judgment is one of those things, like, I play all those RGG games like a completionist, minus not wanting to get platinums on things, because that will drive me nuts. But that game, you can beat it in 27, 28 hours, but like completionist, 100.
So like 5 sessions on stream. Okay, yeah, I mean, yeah, that's fair. And usually what I do is I play the first 2, and then I if it's interesting, I play it off stream, right? That's kind of what I did with King Arthur. I played the first episode on stream, and I was like, it's kind of boring to watch. let me play something else on stream, and then I'll play this off stream.
Yeah,
I'll have a full report on you. Yeah. Any final takeaways for the evening and for the chat, anybody?
This week has just been, like, honestly, with the amount of releases, with the amount of games that have come out over the course of this week, like it was pretty packed.
Man, City of the Wolves coming out, Claire Obscura right there, and now Oblivion. Like, we can't catch a break, man. My wallet's crying. Like,
hey man, get that Game Pass, and Claire Obscura's not a full price. This is the one time where I'll be like, get both.
That's
if you really want to.
Yeah, I do want both. I think it's just a matter of time. More limited.
Oh yeah, no, that's a completely different conversation.
Yeah, especially you, my dude. I feel like your time is gonna get real short here pretty soon.
No. So the first little bit, though, I'm gonna be getting caught up on my entire backlog while we're watching.
All right, that's awesome. I love it.
The first little bit I'll be fine. It's after that.
Game Pass Ultimate and get both. See, my man Scorpio notes up. All right, I love that. All right, let me let me send us off here for the night, and we'll call it good. So let me pull up the ye old scroll of mine here and we'll just get going. I thought about putting some music, but it's all good. Anyway, chat, that's a wrap for Class 28 of the Gaming Academy. Thanks to all our fellow gamers, Pixel Scholars, and Retro Warriors for tuning in. This Week in Gaming History with myself took us on a wild ride through time from the birth of Data East all the way to the re-release of God of War on the PS4, and some game called Super Smash Brothers, but nobody cares. Also, who knew Corey in the House had a release date worth remembering? All right, only here at the Academy can you find out. Nick also hit us with those super spicy gaming headlines like The Elder Scrolls Oblivion, stealth kill from the Dark Brotherhood. But which Dark Brotherhood? Oh wait, the Elder Scrolls one. We haven't played it, so that's why I didn't know. Also, Dragon Ball Sparking Zero Daima DLC lands April 24th, which is in a couple of days here. No story, but 8 new fighters incoming. All right. So you decide whether that's worth it for you. Also, the mysterious Diablo 4 Season 8 is prepping the Nerf hammer and going full Belial mode. We don't know what that's going to be. They've been really quiet on it, but I'm really excited to finally get back into that game. Also, Switch 2 pre-orders and that famous horny bat moment from the Stellar Blade statue reveal. Yes, Ace is going to buy that. We went there. Also, Two Waters demo makes Elden Ring's Night Rain introduces a rock-slinging brawler named Raider, and Frostpunk 2 gears up for 2024 with a sibling planned for 2029. That's pretty cool. So much Fire content, too many games with very little time. We almost need a Phoenix. Hold on.
I'd buy that for $1.
Yes. Now make sure to follow us on all our platforms so you don't miss class number 29 and beyond. We have something special coming out for class 30. So keep watching. Follow us on Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook. Also follow Ace on his YouTube channel and Twitch. He streams pretty much on daily. I don't, so watch him more than me. It's okay. And as always, drop a like, a sub, share the Academy with your fellow gaming historians and future bosses of the leaderboard. Until next time, stay curious, stay nerdy, and always remember, keep your thumbs limber and your minds open and your save files backed up, because I miss those quirky PS2 little polygon memory card models, if you know what I'm talking about. This is the GQAzndood Gaming Academy and friends. Class is dismissed. Have a good night.